I'm pretty sure my friend was raped at the beach last week. Last Wednesday we went to a private beach area in our city with a group of friends. She went to the toilet, public, and didn't come back until about 40 minutes later, and we were looking for her everywhere. We looked in the toilets and she wasn't there. Now, as I mentioned, it was a private beach, meaning cleaner environment, not so crowded, nice people, so we didn't really go as a group with her, and we just felt safe using the toilet in that area. We didn't find her and we decided to go back to our spot and wait, and maybe she would come around looking for us. Not to mention that none of us were sober, except for her, so we didn't really use the greatest problem-solving skills. She came back in her bikini, which she left with, so that wasn't odd, crying, and her hair was messed up, and she crawled into me and cried and didn't answer a single question the girls were asking. She cried like a baby and I cried with her. We packed up after a few minutes and headed home, and she still isn't talking about it, but she's increasingly getting skinnier and paler and more depressed. She is literally fading away. We're roommates and I tried to help her eat by sharing my food or making stuff she likes, but she's not eating. I suggested if she feels better she reports whatever happened to her, even if she doesn't want to tell me or our friends. She didn't answer. I told her she could journal or get a diary where she writes about it, and hopefully she feels better after that, and she doesn't want to. Doesn't want to go to therapy either. Nightmares wake her up and she comes to my bed almost every night, but at the same time she gets uncomfortable if I rub her back and touch her hair, so I just sit there frozen until she's comfortable enough to either fall asleep in my arms or go back to her own bed. What can I do? It breaks my heart to see her like this, so jumpy and scared. Edit, I will call a hotline and ask for advice, and I will give her details to contacting sexual assault and rape hotlines and forums herself. Thank you. You could talk to a sexual assault support group and see what they would recommend as far as helping her process this. You are outside of your depth. She needs professional help. Support groups, hospital, and police. And is her family in the picture at all? As far as getting her to eat, make it sound like you need her help. I ordered food but I don't feel so well all of a sudden. Plaza, eat at least some of it so it doesn't go to waste. This is so good but I can't eat another bite. Here, finish this off for me. I was able to get my grandmother to eat more by saying things like that. Wish I had more help to offer. This is so heartbreaking. I am going to keep this short because this is very triggering for me due to my own unfortunate experiences. From what you have written, it sounds like she doesn't want to be alone. Be with her whenever she is home when you can. Sleep in the same room together. Just stay together even if it means that you are sitting in silence. Just your presence is helpful, trust me. I would also tell her something along the lines of, hey, I know you don't want to talk about what happened yet, but I want you to know I am here for you and will be by your side. If you ever feel like my presence if too much, just let me know and I will go with no questions asked. You did the absolutely right thing to contact a rape hotline and get professional advice. I commend you for your compassion and empathy for you friend. Just make sure that when she is ready, she gets the help she needs. It may take her time to open up and that's okay. Do not push her. It took me over 7 months before I even slightly mentioned what had happened to me. It is a very long helping process. Wish you and your friend the best of luck. My experience was that 2 solid weeks after my rape I was completely dissociated. I don't remember what I did for those 2 weeks. I just remember waking up from it all completely disoriented because all of a sudden it was the middle of February and last I checked it was still January. She probably doesn't know what she needs. That kind of assault messes with you in a horrible way. Take her lead. When she's ready she'll disclose what happened. Until then, let her know she's safe, you're there for her, and you don't think any less of her. When she comes to, so to speak, let her know what resources you found. If this happened in the US, without a rape kit, physical evidence, or video evidence, reporting the crime will lead nowhere, even if the statute of limitations has not been met. It seems like you're doing everything you can to help her. Keep doing that and eventually she'll be able to process what happened. It's been 12 years for me and I still sometimes grieve because of it. boyfriend, 30 meters, is always naked at home and is starting to stink badly. My 25F boyfriend and I have been living together for over a year now, together for almost 2 years. He's always walked around the house naked and spends most of the time at home, when it's just the two of us, naked. It has always kind of bothered me, to be honest, but I know it's his way of relaxing and how he's most comfortable, so I've never said anything. He has gained about 30 pounds since the pandemic started. Not a big deal, but it is kind of impacting my attraction to him. He has a big beer belly now and has gained weight around his face. He's also very hairy. I honestly don't like looking at him naked unless we're fooling around, and he's naked all the time at home. I don't know what to do about it, and there's another layer to this. He started working out a few times a week, which is great, but it's like the smell doesn't wash off in the shower. His feet smell from across the room, his armpits smell whenever he moves his arms, and he's told me before that the water is completely brown when he washes his butthole out, indicating that he's not wiping properly in the bathroom. He also has very dry and scaly skin. So, back to my original complaint, he's walking around naked all the time and stinks all the time. He's sitting on the sofa and lying in bed completely naked, spreading his scent everywhere. Last night in bed, he had his arms above his head and had the fan facing us, so the smell of his armpits was wafting in my face. I turned the other way, but the scent was inescapable. I asked him to put his arms down because he smelled a little off, and his feelings got hurt, but I really didn't know what to do. I dread spending time with him at home now, because I'm visually turned off and now have to deal with constant BO. Any tips for addressing this in a sensitive manner? Edit. Holy crap. I logged off last night and checked this morning to over 400 comments. I am cracking up reading a lot of your guys' comments, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate the time everyone took to comment or joke. I can't respond to everyone, but thank you all for your thoughts. Step 1. Get the fuck out and tell him you are absolutely not coming back until or unless he chooses to behave like a functional human being instead of a walking toxic waste site. Step 2. I'm being completely serious. Get therapy to examine why the fuck you were willing to live like this, and to learn how to take care of yourself instead of choosing to live in a 24/7 nightmare to avoid hurting the feelings of this fucking walking toxic waste site. Does he use actual soap? I had a coworker that would shower at work to save water and never used soap. They were talked to a few times about hygiene. It baffles me that there are still people out there who don't seem to be aware of soap, especially after this past year. It's not like it's some inaccessible luxury product either. You can get a bar of soap for next to nothing. It's time for an "okay, this isn't working for me" conversation. If you want me to stay with you, we need to address a few issues because they are turning me off. I'm losing attraction to you. The first is X. Are you willing to fix these issues? Decide from answer and results. This is so level-headed, but I'd if it's possible to regain attraction to someone like that. Brown shit water. There was one post last year about a similar situation. Boyfriend was a nudist who had heavy gas. Their furniture was covered in shit particles and his nasty body grease. I imagine he sits bare ass on the couch. If he rips one, he basically sprays shit all over the cushions. Yeah, it's gross. Hey, what the fuck? I'ma pray this is fiction, because it is really harrowing in many ways. The idea of living with anyone who was all hairy, naked, filthy, and stinky all the time has gotta be like top 3 worst nightmare scenarios. And the brown water from washing his butthole out. This has got to be a creative writing sample. My 24F boyfriend, 28M, insists that we have a baby just because his ex is. My boyfriend and I have been together since 2019. When we first started dating, he mentioned that he had recently got out of an 7-year relationship but hasn't really spoken about his ex-GF since. Everything has been great. That is until 2 weeks ago when my partner started talking about us having a baby. I was shocked because it came out of nowhere. I do want kids, but not right now, and he is very aware of that. I'm in veterinary school and my career is my main focus. When I started questioning him about it, he told me that he doesn't want to wait years and said, and I quote, "Everyone around us are having children. which is a pretty shit reason to have a kid. I proceeded to ask him who that we know are having a baby, and he named my sister and then name dropped his ex. I have no idea why he is still keeping tabs on his ex-girlfriend, especially when he's with me. We had an argument, but then he apologized the next day. But he is constantly telling me that I should get my IUD, birth control, removed. I keep telling him no, but he keeps bringing it up. I'm not really sure of what to do or how to make him drop this ridiculous idea. I'm hoping it's just a phase. Advice? Question mark. He's trying to coerce you into pregnancy to keep up with his ex. Do you want to be proposed to right after his ex gets engaged? Married right after her? Planning your second pregnancy as soon as she announces hers? This is the future he's trying to set you up for. I wouldn't want to be with someone who's so clearly obsessed with a different woman. My sister was in a situation like this where her boyfriend wanted kids and she didn't. He started to poke holes in the condoms and threw out her birth control over until she had them. She had to drop out of school to take care of the baby and her boyfriend left her all alone. The fact that he is pressing you about your birth control after you told him you didn't want kids yet is a huge red flag. I suggest you look up reproductive coercion. It is a serious issue that happens to millions of people all over the country. Having kids when you aren't ready because your boyfriend wants them is not a good reason. If you have kids when you aren't ready, you will inevitably regret your decision and grow to resent them. Not to mention the responsibility having kids comes with. Are you willing to potentially put your life and career on pause for this? Are you sure your boyfriend will completely support you throughout the entire process? Do you plan on ever marrying this man before making such a huge commitment when you aren't ready? Having kids because everyone else has them is a shit reason. Not to mention the fact that he still is keeping tabs on his ex. Why does he want to have kids purely because his ex wants them? Isn't that kind of weird? Since this has only been going on for a couple of weeks, so I suggest you try to communicate more and stay firm on your stance. If you see a long-term future with him, then this might be a problem. Having kids is a huge decision and one of you will eventually grow to resent the other if you both try to compromise. If he is really serious and wants kids that badly, then the relationship might not work. Personally, I would just break up, but it all depends on you. Just don't ever commit to having kids if you know you aren't 100% ready. Tell him he either lets this go and stops mentioning it, or you're done. What he's doing is sailing perilously close to coercing you into getting pregnant, which is a huge red flag. This is why I'm honestly so glad you have an IUD and birth control isn't entirely on him, because he doesn't seem like he would be above removing condoms during sex or something. I am so glad you have an IUD. My ex begrudged the time it took for me to get BC pills and forced me off them. He was an abusive boss, no offense to shit, which actually had uses. Thankfully, due to drug use and me being malnourished, it took years for me to get pregnant. He stealthed condoms, so they didn't help. I aborted, but took even longer to ditch the pause. If he starts wanting to fist you or something else where his hand is up your uterus, do not let him. He may yank out your IUD. Some time ago there was a thread on this subreddit of that exact same thing happening. The dude ripped out her IUD. Stay cautious, op, heart. Everyone around us are having children, which is a pretty shit reason to have a kid. That's the shittiest reason to have a kid. I would sit down for a serious conversation after this and evaluate the relationship. First, it's never okay to pressure someone with STH so huge as a pregnancy. Second, he's just your boyfriend. You have zero security, so you should be very comfortable with the idea of raising a child by yourself. You seem to have a good head on your shoulder, so don't give in to his pressure if your studies and your career are your priorities.